Hey everyone, before we dive into this story, don't forget to subscribe to my channel for more engaging content like this. Now, let's get started. The glow of the Christmas tree lights softened as I stepped away from the fireplace mantle, where my family had posed themselves like a polished corporate holiday card. Mom fiddled with her pearl necklace, ensuring it sat just right. Dad tugged at his tie, aligning it perfectly. My sister Vanessa ran a hand over her sleek red cocktail dress, while her husband Derek stood with the effortless confidence of someone accustomed to the camera's gaze. "Claire, you're in the way of the light," Vanessa said, shooing me aside as if I were a misplaced chair. "We need this to look sharp and professional." Professional. That word again. The same one they'd used to justify leaving me out of the family newsletter. The reason my accomplishments never surfaced in Mom's boastful holiday chats with neighbors. The explanation for why my name was conveniently omitted when Dad introduced his kids at the country club. I wasn't professional enough, not in the way they measured success. Derek just landed VP at Henderson Capital, Mom declared to the relatives gathered in the living room, her voice brimming with the pride she saved for Vanessa's triumphs. Youngest in the firm's history, and Vanessa's boutique marketing agency secured 3 Fortune 500 clients this quarter. The room buzzed with murmurs of approval. Aunts and uncles raised their champagne flutes. Cousins snapped photos for social media. Christmas Eve had morphed into a networking gala, with Vanessa and Derek as the main event. "What about Claire?" Aunt Marie asked, her tone warm but curious. "What's she been up to?" The brief pause that followed was subtle but crushing. "Oh, Claire's still tinkering with her tech stuff," Dad said offhandedly, not even glancing my way. "Coding, very specialized work." As if founding and growing a cybersecurity company to 8 figures in revenue was a side project. As if being the CEO of DataGuard Solutions, the region's fastest growing security firm, was something to brush off at gatherings. But I'd long realized my family didn't value what they couldn't comprehend or showcase. Derek's VP role came with a shiny corner office and a nameplate. Vanessa's agency boasted a sleek website and celebrity endorsements. My work, thwarting corporate data breaches, crafting encryption systems, safeguarding critical infrastructure, was intangible, unglamorous, unworthy of mention. "All right, everyone, gather in," the photographer called. Naturally, she was a professional, hired specifically for the family Christmas photos destined for their 500 closest friends and business associates. I watched my family arrange themselves flawlessly. Mom and Dad at the center, exuding parental pride. Vanessa and Derek to their right, the picture-perfect power couple. My brother Marcus and his wife Julia to the left, both high-flying lawyers at top-tier firms. Their kids stood in front, adorable accessories in matching velvet outfits. And me, I lingered outside the frame. "Actually," Mom said, catching the photographer's eye, "let's take a few with just the core family. Claire, sweetheart, could you step aside for these? We want to highlight the family's professional achievements without muddying the focus." Muddying the focus. The words hit like a splash of cold water. "Of course," I replied softly. Vanessa didn't even look my way as I moved to the room's edge. Derek was already glued to his phone, likely scrolling through the Henderson Capital Group chat, where VPs vied for the managing director's approval. Marcus adjusted his cufflinks, embossed with his law firm's logo. Then my phone vibrated, a notification from my publicist. "Forbes 30 Under 30 list just dropped. You're on the cover. Congrats, Claire." The cover. Not just the list, the cover. My hand shook slightly as I opened the email attachment. There I was, photographed 3 weeks earlier in DataGuard server room during the Forbes interview. The headline read, "The 29-year-old CEO redefining cybersecurity's accessibility and profitability." The article laid it all out. How I launched DataGuard from my tiny apartment 5 years ago with $10,000 in savings. How we grew to 150 employees and $80 million in annual revenue. How our encryption protocols now protected 6 federal agencies and 200 private firms. How I personally stopped 3 major cyber attacks that could have exposed millions of people's financial data. All this while my family thought I was dabbling in tech stuff in my free time. "Big smiles, everyone," the photographer called. My family grinned, camera flashes illuminating the room. They looked flawless, accomplished, meticulously curated for this moment. I stared at the Forbes cover on my phone, my face serious and assured beside the words, Cybersecurity's Rising Star. Claire, could you grab more champagne from the kitchen? Mom called, her smile unwavering for the camera. The Waterford bottles, not the cheap ones. Even at my own family's Christmas Eve party, I was only useful for errands that kept me out of sight. Actually, Mom, I need to show you something. Not now. Dear, we're almost done with the photos. It's important, Claire, Dad said, his tone carrying a sharp edge. We're in the middle of something. Can it wait? No, I said, my voice calm but firm. It really can't. I stepped into the center of the room, holding out my phone. The photographer paused, sensing the shift in the air. Conversations fell silent. Every eye turned to me, the overlooked daughter, the tech geek they couldn't quite package for display. I made Forbes 30 under 30, I said plainly. I'm on the cover. The silence was deafening. Vanessa's jaw dropped slightly. Derek's eyes widened. Marcus stood up from the couch where he'd been waiting for his photo turn. Mom's Waterford champagne glass slipped from her hand, shattering on the hardwood floor. What? Dad managed. I turned my phone toward them, the Forbes cover glowing on the screen, undeniable and impossible to dismiss. Aunt Marie snatched the phone, and suddenly the extended family crowded around. Gasps and exclamations filled the air. Forbes, the actual Forbes. She's on the cover. It says $80 million in revenue. Federal agencies use her company. Uncle Tom, who'd barely acknowledged me all night, began reading the article aloud. Claire Morrison has built what experts call the decade's most innovative cybersecurity firm. At just 29, she's safeguarding critical infrastructure, preventing corporate espionage, and reshaping digital security. Her company, DataGuard Solutions, has secured $50 million in venture capital and is on track for a $1 billion valuation within 18 months. The photographer pivoted, snapping shots of this unplanned moment, the raw, chaotic revelation. Mom's face had gone pale. You never told us it was this big. You never asked what I actually do, I replied. You called it niche work 5 minutes ago. I didn't realize my success, my company, or my achievements were worth celebrating. Vanessa recovered first, ever quick on her feet. This is amazing, Claire. We had no idea you were doing so well. Why didn't you tell us? I tried, I said. Last Thanksgiving, I mentioned landing a major government contract. Dad said, that's nice, and moved on to Derek's promotion. At Easter, I brought up our Series B funding. Mom cut in to talk about Vanessa's new client. At Marcus's birthday dinner, I started explaining our European expansion, and everyone tuned out before I finished. The room fell quiet again, but this silence was different, tense, uneasy, tinged with guilt. You decided long ago that because you didn't understand my work, it didn't matter, I continued. Because I couldn't boil it down to a cocktail party tagline like VP at Henderson Capital or boutique marketing agency, it wasn't valid. You judged success by titles, offices, and things you could flaunt at the country club. My achievements, building a company from scratch, creating jobs, protecting critical systems, didn't count because they didn't fit your idea of professional. Derek looked sheepish. Marcus stared at his polished shoes. Vanessa's flawless poise wavered. Dad, scrolling through his phone, cycled through unfamiliar emotions, confusion, maybe pride, but mostly embarrassment. There are 47 articles about you, he said slowly. TechCrunch, Wall Street Journal, Bloomberg, Wired. They call you a visionary, a cybersecurity prodigy. How did I miss this? Because you never looked, I said. You assumed if it wasn't served to you with obvious social clout, it wasn't worth noticing. My phone buzzed again. Texts, calls, notifications piling up. The Forbes cover was spreading like wildfire. Colleagues sent congratulations, investors requested meetings, media outlets clamored for interviews. My publicist called, and I put her on speaker, too tired to care about discretion. Claire, the Forbes cover is blowing up. You're trending on LinkedIn and Twitter. Good Morning America wants you Monday. The Today Show's offering Tuesday. Every major business outlet, 3 podcasts, and 2 universities for commencement speeches. This is massive. Thanks, Rachel. I'll call you back. I hung up and faced my family, seeing them clearly for the first time in years, without the haze of craving their approval. They seemed diminished, less formidable. Good morning, America, Mom whispered. You're going to be on Good Morning America. We should celebrate, Vanessa said, her voice bright but calculated, already shifting into damage control. This is huge. Claire, our sister, a Forbes cover star. Our sister, who wasn't polished enough for the family photos 15 minutes ago. The words lingered, sharp and heavy. Aunt Marie let out a sharp, knowing laugh. Oh, this is priceless. You literally pushed her out of the picture because she wasn't successful enough, and now she's outshining all of you combined. That's not fair, Vanessa protested. We didn't know. You didn't want to know, Aunt Marie shot back. I asked about Claire at every family event. Every single one. And you all brushed her off like she was tinkering with computers in her basement instead of running an 8-figure empire. Uncle Tom was still glued to his phone. It says she spoke at DEF CON last year, RSA, and testified before Congress on cybersecurity legislation. Congress, the Senate Committee on Homeland Security, I confirmed. In March, I submitted written testimony in June for the infrastructure bill. Senator Morrison cited my recommendations in the final draft. Mom sank onto the couch, looking faint. You testified before Congress? Yes. And where were we in March? Planning Vanessa's agency launch party. The one with the $15,000 catering and ice sculpture. I offered to help with costs since business was good, and you told me not to worry about grown-up expenses. The photographer kept snapping, capturing the unscripted collapse of the family's carefully crafted image. I probably should have stopped her, but there was something poetic about documenting this moment, the Christmas card they'd never send. Derek finally spoke, his voice quiet. Henderson Capital's been trying to hire data guard for our security systems. We've been on your wait list for 8 months. I had no idea it was your data guard. I'm that data guard, I said. Jesus, he muttered, running a hand through his styled hair. My managing director's obsessed with your company. Mentions you in every security meeting. Calls you the gold standard for corporate protection. That's kind of you, I said. Kind. He let out a shaky laugh. Claire, you're the industry leader. My company's begging to work with yours, and I've been acting like my VP title made me the family's big shot. Your VP title is impressive, I said sincerely. You earned it. But so did I. The difference is your work fit their mold, something they could understand and parade. Mine didn't. Marcus spoke up, his voice heavy. My law firm wanted to bring you in as an expert witness for a cyber litigation case last year. They asked if I knew Claire Morrison from DataGuard. I said no. I said no because I didn't realize my own sister's company was the one they were raving about. To be fair, I said, you never asked what my company's called. I know that now, he said, looking gutted. God, Claire, I'm so sorry. The apologies came fast after that, overlapping and frantic. Mom sobbed about misunderstandings. Dad insisted he'd always been proud deep down. Vanessa swore she'd always believed in me. Marcus listed moments he'd meant to ask about my work, but got sidetracked. I let them talk. They weren't sorry, they were just humiliated. I need some air, I said. Outside, the cold bit at my skin. Inside, I heard my family arguing. Aunt Marie joined me, carrying champagne. I'm not surprised, she said. I always knew you were exceptional. They just couldn't see it. Thank you. Will you forgive them? Maybe, but not tonight. They're embarrassed, not remorseful. We clinked glasses, toasting to outshining those who tried to diminish us, to creating something authentic. Through the window, I saw my family reading articles about me, discovering my life through strangers' words. Then a text from my CEO, we're proud of you, boss. Banner and champagne ready. That meant more than my family's sudden interest. Dad stepped outside, looking older than I'd ever seen him. I owe you a real apology, he said. I was wrong for years. I only valued what I could understand, titles, hierarchies, status. When you chose a different path, I didn't know how to appreciate it. That was my failing, not yours. Thank you, I said. I'll do better, he promised. I'll learn about your work, not because Forbes says so, but because I should have cared all along. I like that, I said. But I don't need your pride. If you want to be in my life, it has to be genuine. He nodded. You've always been remarkable. I just didn't see it. Inside, Mom laughed nervously. Relatives whispered about my Forbes cover. The photographer packed up. Vanessa approached. Can we take one photo, just as sisters? Not for show, just for me. I nodded. We stood by the tree, for once on equal ground. The Forbes cover dropped on Christmas Eve, and my family finally saw me, not because I'd changed, but because others validated me. Monday, I flew to New York for Good Morning America. My team sent texts and memes, cheering me on. My phone overflowed with messages from relatives who'd ignored me for years. But the only one that mattered was from Aunt Marie. You never needed their approval. This is your victory. Love you, superstar. She was right. I built DataGuard and transformed an industry, not because they believed in me, but because I believed in myself. Their recognition came too late.